They say love can't be bought, but in the world of Hollywood's most powerful black celebrities, love often comes wrapped in diamonds, private jets, and price tags that make your jaw drop. These weddings aren't just celebrations, they're battles of luxury, silent wars of wealth where every flower, every chandelier, and every sip of champagne screams status. Imagine roses flown in from 5 different countries, wedding cakes taller than the bride herself, and champagne bills rivaling the cost of a luxury sports car. For these stars, happily ever after starts with million-dollar vows and unforgettable spectacles. Today we're diving deep into the 15 most extravagant black celebrity weddings ever recorded, unions so dazzling they blurred the line between fantasy and reality. And trust me, when you see what some of these couples spent just to say I do, you'll understand. In Hollywood, even love comes with a receipt. 1. Harry Belafonte. At 81 years old, most people slow down. But Harry Belafonte, the man who made the world sing Deo, decided to prove that passion, purpose, and love don't retire. In April 2008, the legendary Calypso king shocked New York with a $1 million wedding that felt more like a grand finale than a quiet union. For more than half a century, Belafonte had been more than a performer. He was a movement, a voice of justice who marched beside Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a global icon who turned rhythm into revolution. And yet behind the fame and activism, he had endured heartbreak through 2 failed marriages. That's when he met Pamela Frank, a compassionate photographer with a quiet grace. They crossed paths at charity events in the late 90s, where Frank's empathy and sincerity reawakened something long asleep in him. When they decided to marry, no one expected the sheer grandeur that followed. A 5-star New York hotel transformed into a living dream. The ballroom overflowed with 20,000 white lilies flown in from South America, their perfume thick in the air like a hymn. A live orchestra played the songs that once defined an era, Banana Boat Song, Jamaica Farewell, now reborn as love anthems. Only 100 guests attended, but each was a titan, from civil rights figures like Reverend Al Sharpton to Hollywood royalty and old musical comrades. They arrived in sleek limousines, walking through marble halls glowing with candlelight. Pamela floated down the aisle in a pearl-embroidered Vera Wang gown, her calm radiance complementing Belafonte's perfectly tailored tuxedo. The celebration was opulent, yet soulful. Kobe beef from Japan, $20,000 bottles of vintage wine from Belafonte's personal cellar, and choir harmonies that lifted the night into something sacred. Each guest received a signed Belafonte record adorned with a tiny diamond, a poetic symbol of enduring brilliance. The night wasn't about excess, it was about defying time. For Belafonte, this wedding was his declaration that love doesn't fade with age, it deepens, mellows, and burns brighter. For 15 years they lived in quiet happiness until his passing in 2023 at 96. Today, Pamela Frank keeps his flame alive in New York, curating his archives and carrying forward a legacy built on courage, music, and a love story that bloomed when the world least expected it. 2. Denzel Washington. It was a wedding, and later, a vow renewal, so grand that even Hollywood's most extravagant hearts were left in awe. Denzel Washington, the cinematic powerhouse whose voice alone could command a room, and Pauletta Pearson, the elegant actress and musician who had stood beside him long before the fame, proved that true love could shine brighter than any spotlight. Their story began in 1977 on the set of Wilma, where a young Denzel met the woman who would become his anchor. For 6 years, their bond deepened quietly, away from the flashing cameras. Then on June 25, 1983, they exchanged vows in a serene North Carolina church. The ceremony was intimate but refined. 200 guests, family laughter, fine wines, and tailored attire that whispered of the stardom just beginning to unfold. Denzel, already drawing attention for his breakout role in Saint Elsewhere, looked every bit the rising star. But 12 years later, the world would witness something far more spectacular. In 1995, Denzel, now an Oscar-winning icon for Glory, and Pauletta renewed their vows in South Africa in an event that redefined celebrity opulence. Guests were flown in on private jets from Los Angeles and New York to a luxury resort transformed into a golden paradise. The celebration stretched across 5,000 square meters under a tent glittering with gold, filled with 30,000 lilies flown in from across Africa, their scent mingling with ocean air and candlelight. The guest list itself could have graced a world summit, and at its heart was none other than Nelson Mandela, whose presence alone turned the ceremony into history. A 100-piece orchestra played live, echoing through the African night as Pauletta, dazzling in a diamond-studded Oscar de la Renta gown, walked toward Denzel, regal in a hand-tailored tuxedo. The evening unfolded like a movie, a $3 million masterpiece of elegance, emotion, and devotion. Yet beyond the splendor, what truly captivated the world was their sincerity. Unlike many Hollywood romances that crumble under fame, Denzel and Pauletta's love only grew stronger. More than 4 decades later, they remain inseparable, partners in faith, art, and life, proving that while fame fades, real love only grows richer with time. Triz, Quincy Jones. It was the wedding that made Beverly Hills stop and stare, a dazzling, money-burning spectacle that redefined Hollywood luxury. On September 14, 1974, music legend Quincy Jones, the genius behind hits for Michael Jackson and Frank Sinatra, joined his life with Peggy Lipton, the golden-haired star of the Mod Squad. Together, they embodied the height of fame, creativity, and glamour, and their union became one of the most talked-about events in entertainment history. That evening, a sprawling Beverly Hills mansion gleamed like a jewel. Spotlights illuminated the night sky, announcing a celebration fit for royalty. Guests arrived in a fleet of shimmering Cadillacs, greeted by the intoxicating fragrance of 30,000 lilies flown in from Italy. Every petal seemed to whisper opulence. Inside, the space was transformed into a garden of light, where stars mingled. Stevie Wonder, Diana Ross, and other musical titans filled the air with laughter and champagne toasts. Peggy Lipton was radiant in a Halston gown hand-encrusted with diamonds, each stone reflecting the candlelight as she walked toward Quincy, who stood tall in a custom tuxedo cut with flawless precision. It was a moment of cinematic perfection, elegance meeting rhythm, beauty meeting brilliance. The menu was as extravagant as the guest list. Norwegian salmon flown in fresh, prime Angus beef grilled to perfection, and the legendary Chateau Mouton Rothschild, 1961, each bottle worth $5,000, a symbol of taste and excess. A 20-piece jazz band kept the night alive, weaving melodies that floated through the mansion until dawn. When the bills were tallied, the price tag landed between $500,000 and $1 million, a staggering sum in the 1970s, the equivalent of up to $5 million today. But this wasn't just a wedding, it was a declaration, a symphony of success, power, and love conducted by Quincy Jones himself. Yet, like many Hollywood fairy tales, the glitter dimmed with time. After 16 years, they parted ways in 1990, undone by fame's relentless pace. Still, their daughters, Rashida and Khadijah Jones, remain the living legacy of a love that once shook Beverly Hills, a love that burned bright enough to be remembered forever. For Cuba Gooding Jr., it was a wedding that glittered brighter than any Hollywood premiere and marked the beginning of a 23-year storm of love, fame, and heartbreak. Cuba Gooding Jr., the magnetic star who shook the world with his performance in Boys in the Hood, wasn't just another actor on the rise. He was the face of a new era, a black leading man conquering Hollywood's toughest barriers. And on March 13, 1994, he decided to celebrate that triumph with a wedding that the City of Angels would never forget. His bride, Sarah Caper, a soft-spoken school teacher and his high school sweetheart, might have imagined a simple ceremony. but Cuba had other plans. A five-star Los Angeles hotel transformed into a kingdom of excess. 200 celebrity guests, including John Singleton, Ice Cube, and a host of industry elites, arrived in gold-plated limousines that gleamed under the California sun. The venue overflowed with 40,000 carnations flown in from Colombia, their pastel hues cascading down hallways and archways like living art. Above the outdoor tent, glass ceilings carved with intricate designs caught the light of chandeliers, creating a shimmer that could rival the Oscars. The air was thick with wealth, fame, and the scent of perfection. The feast was fit for kings. Alaskan king crab, Wagyu beef, and $10,000 bottles of Chateau Lafite 1982 graced the tables, where guests toasted under golden lanterns. Sarah's Valentino gown sparkled with 8,000 hand-sewn crystals, while Cuba's Armani tuxedo was the definition of tailored elegance. A 25-piece R&B band played his favorite classics as guests danced deep into the night. Each attendee left with engraved crystal keepsakes, though many were later found abandoned, silent symbols of a celebration too large for its own meaning. The wedding's estimated $1.50 to $2.5 million price tag made headlines, but whispers soon followed that this union was more spectacle than substance. And time would prove them right. After 23 years, the glamour dimmed, legal troubles, fame fatigue, and diverging lifestyles led to their 2017 divorce. Yet through it all, they remained kind to one another, for the sake of their 3 children. Today, Cuba Gooding Jr. still lives in Los Angeles, acting in flashes of his old brilliance, while Sarah Caper embraces peace and privacy, far from the extravagant day that once defined, and perhaps doomed, their love story. 5. Magic Johnson. It was the wedding that stopped the sports world in its tracks, a dazzling $3 million celebration that blended NBA glory with Hollywood glamour. On September 14, 1991, basketball legend Magic Johnson, 5-time NBA champion and one of the greatest to ever touch the court, married his college sweetheart, Cookie Kelly, in a ceremony so extravagant it became the talk of an entire generation. The venue was Lansing's grandest church, transformed into a floral wonderland. 80,000 tulips flown in from the Netherlands cascaded down every aisle, forming a breathtaking 10-meter floral arch that filled the air with soft fragrance and color. The scene was nothing short of royal, a fairy tale come alive. Outside, a 100-meter-long convoy of Rolls-Royces carried over 300 A-list guests, including NBA icons Michael Jordan and Larry Bird, plus stars from the worlds of music and film. Reporters called it the royal wedding of sports, and they weren't exaggerating. The reception at a top-tier 5-star hotel took opulence to the next level. Guests dined on Japanese Wagyu beef and Alaskan seafood, perfectly paired with Krug Clos du Mesnil champagne, each bottle valued at $12,000. Cookie, radiant in a Vera Wang gown adorned with 5,000 hand-sewn pearls, walked beside Magic, who looked every inch the champion in a custom Armani tuxedo. A 30-piece live jazz band serenaded the crowd, turning the evening into a soulful symphony of love and triumph. As if the luxury weren't enough, each guest received a Patek Philippe watch engraved with their names, a gift so lavish some were quietly sold weeks later. The total cost, between $3 and $4 million, made headlines worldwide. But just months later, joy turned to shock when Magic publicly announced his HIV diagnosis, transforming that glittering wedding into the last carefree moment before a battle that would test their vows beyond imagination. And yet, against all odds, they endured. More than 3 decades later, Magic and Cookie Johnson remained together, stronger, wiser, and still in love. Today in Los Angeles, he runs a billion-dollar empire, while she inspires through her books and charity work, proof that even after the storm, true love can still shine like gold. 6. Tina Turner. It was a wedding straight out of a dream, a million-dollar fairy tale that shimmered with the same brilliance as the woman at its center, Tina Turner, the undisputed queen of rock and roll. With a voice that could shake the heavens and a spirit that refused to break, Tina had already conquered the world. She wasn't just a performer, she was a force of nature. From Proud Mary to The Best, she turned every song into an anthem and every performance into history. After decades of triumph and turbulence, she had become a legend not just for her music, but for her strength. And in the midst of her fame and reinvention, she found peace and love in the most unexpected place, a German airport in 1985, where a soft-spoken EMI executive named Erwin Bach greeted her. What began as a spark grew into a love that spanned 27 years, enduring fame, pain, and distance. Then, on July 21, 2013, at the age of 73, Tina Turner decided to turn that enduring devotion into a grand celebration. The scene was Lake Zurich, Switzerland, where her luxurious villa transformed into a paradise of elegance. 120 guests, among them Oprah Winfrey, David Bowie, and other icons, arrived in a fleet of polished Bentleys, greeted by the breathtaking scent of 70,000 red and white roses flown in from the Netherlands. A vast glass-floored tent overlooked the glistening lake, reflecting the golden afternoon sun like a scene from a film. The menu was as extraordinary as the setting: Atlantic salmon, prime Angus beef, and the rare 1988 Krug champagne, each bottle valued at $15,000. Tina, radiant as ever, wore a Giorgio Armani gown adorned with Swarovski crystals, each sparkle mirroring her triumphs and tears. Erwin, graceful in an Armani tuxedo, stood by her side as a 30-piece classical orchestra filled the air with timeless love songs. Guests left not with mere souvenirs, but with crystal statues of Tina Turner, custom-made tokens so exquisite that many would later be auctioned for staggering sums. The total cost, $3 to $4 million, made headlines, with flowers alone consuming nearly a fifth of the budget. But for Tina and Erwin, this was never about opulence. It was about gratitude, a celebration of love that had survived everything fame could throw at it. They remained inseparable until Tina Sepp's passing in 2023, at 83. Today, Erwin Bach still lives quietly in Switzerland, watching the lake they once gazed upon together, carrying on her light, her legacy, and the memory of a love that truly was simply the best. Siebed at Michael Jordan. It was the wedding that shook Florida's elite and sent shockwaves through the world of sports and entertainment. A $12 million spectacle that proved Michael Jordan didn't just reign on the basketball court, but in the realm of luxury itself. On April 27, 2013, the NBA legend, five-time MVP, global icon, and billionaire owner of the Charlotte Hornets, married Yvette Preteo, the stunning Cuban-American model who had captured his heart after a fateful meeting at a Miami nightclub in 2008. What followed wasn't just a wedding, it was an empire's declaration of love. At Palm Beach, Florida, an astonishing 40,000 square foot tent rose from the ground, larger than most mansions and glowing like a palace. 300 elite guests from Tiger Woods to Spike Lee arrived in convoys of Bentleys, creating a red carpet parade that turned the neighborhood into a living fashion show. Inside, the extravagance only intensified. 100,000 white roses flown in from the Netherlands blanketed every walkway and ceiling, while a floating stage shimmered beside an infinity pool under the stars. Yvette Preteo was radiant in a Jatin couture gown embedded with 15,000 crystals, her every movement scattering light like champagne bubbles. Jordan, in a tailored Dior tuxedo, carried the poise of a man who'd won at everything, love included. The night was a feast for the senses. Maine lobster, Wagyu beef, and Chateau Petrus 1982 wine, each bottle worth $20,000, flowed freely. Usher and Robin Thicke performed live, keeping the celebration pulsing until dawn. The final touch. Each guest received a pair of 24-karat gold-plated Air Jordans nestled in engraved wooden boxes, a symbol of opulence only Jordan could pull off. With a staggering $10, 12 million price tag, it became one of the most expensive weddings in modern history. Yet, unlike many Hollywood unions, this one lasted. Over a decade later, Michael and Yvette Jordan live quietly in Florida with their twin daughters, proof that sometimes, even the grandest fairy tales can find a steady, lasting rhythm. 8. Russell Simmons. It was a wedding that turned an ordinary Caribbean shoreline into a kingdom of glittering luxury, a beach ceremony so extravagant it left guests speechless. On December 20th, 1998, Russell Simmons, the legendary hip-hop mogul who built Def Jam Recordings into an empire, married Kimora Lee Simmons, the radiant supermodel and fashion icon who defined early 2000s glamour. Their union, a blend of rhythm, beauty, and fame, became one of the most talked-about events of its era. They first met at New York Fashion Week in 1992, where sparks flew instantly despite their 18-year age gap. She was the rising star of the runway, he was the king of hip-hop. Together they embodied power and allure, the music world's royal couple. When it came time to wed, Russell spared no expense. St. Bartholomew's Beach in the Caribbean transformed into a paradise of extravagance. 200 A-list guests from Jay-Z to Tyra Banks arrived in private jets, greeted by the scent of 40,000 tropical flowers flown in from Brazil. Every path, every corner of the beach, overflowed with color and opulence. A transparent glass-floored tent was built right over the sand, allowing guests to dance as waves crashed beneath their feet, the sea itself keeping rhythm with the music. The menu was as decadent as the setting: Russian black caviar, prime seafood platters, and $8,000 bottles of vintage French wine, poured endlessly, many left half full by the night's end. Kimora, dazzling in a self-designed gown encrusted with diamonds, shone like the Caribbean sunset itself, while Russell, sharp in a Versace tuxedo, made his entrance to hip-hop beats spun live by a private DJ. Each guest received a gold-plated baby fat bag, a luxury souvenir so lavish that many couldn't fit it in their luggage to take home. The celebration reportedly cost $2 to $3 million, with much spent on decor and private travel, a symbol of peak-era excess. But even the brightest sparkle fades. After 11 years, their marriage ended in 2009 amid infidelity rumors and clashing lifestyles. Now, Russell Simmons lives quietly in Bali, devoted to meditation and mindfulness, while Kimora Lee Simmons continues to dominate fashion in New York, both carrying memories of a love that once ruled the world stage in diamonds, music, and sea-salted air. 9. Will Smith. It was a wedding that sparkled like a New Year's firework, a million-dollar spectacle that defined 1990s Hollywood excess. On December 31st, 1997, Will Smith, the unstoppable star of Independence Day and one of the biggest box office draws in the world, married Jada Pinkett, the rising actress whose fire matched his fame. Held at the Cloisters in Baltimore, the ceremony was as dazzling as the man himself. 150 guests, including stars like Tisha Campbell and Martin Lawrence, arrived in armored limousines, while 50,000 imported Japanese peonies filled the venue with a fragrance as powerful as the spotlight surrounding the couple. A massive tent shimmered with LED screens, looping Smith's iconic movie scenes, blending Hollywood glamour with heartfelt celebration. The feast was equally grand: Alaskan king crab, prime Angus beef, and 1995 Dom Perignon champagne, priced at $8,000 a bottle, poured endlessly as a 30-piece R&B band kept guests on their feet. Jada glowed in a Badgley Mishka gown adorned with pearls, while Will, sharp in a Versace tuxedo, embodied the image of success and charisma. With an estimated cost between $2 and $3 million, the event became one of Hollywood's defining luxury weddings, but even that spectacle couldn't hold their love together forever. By 2016, years of conflict and controversy had dimmed the spark. Today they live separately in Los Angeles, maintaining peace for their family, the remnants of a union once celebrated as unstoppable. That glittering night remains a distant echo, a symbol of how even the brightest stars can fade behind the curtain of real life. It was the wedding that silenced Hollywood, a $4 million spectacle so extravagant that even the city of excess gasped. On March 18, 1993, Eddie Murphy, the undisputed king of comedy, whose films like Beverly Hills Cop and Coming to America made him a global icon, married Nicole Mitchell, the stunning model who had captured his heart at the height of his fame. The venue was none other than New York's legendary Plaza Hotel, which transformed overnight into a wonderland of unimaginable opulence. 500 guests, including Arsenio Hall, Halle Berry, and a glittering list of Hollywood elites, arrived in a convoy of stretch limousines stretching 50 meters long, enough to shut down an entire Manhattan street. Inside, the hotel's ballroom had been reborn as a fantasy park. An artificial lake shimmered beneath chandeliers, while a floating stage sat at its center, awaiting the couple's grand entrance. 60,000 black roses flown in from Ecuador created breathtaking floral walls so aromatic that guests occasionally had to step outside for air. When Nicole appeared, the crowd audibly gasped. She glowed in a Givenchy gown encrusted with 2-carat diamonds, each one catching the light like falling stars. Eddie, sharp in a custom Tom Ford tuxedo, walked beside her with the swagger of a man who could make the whole world laugh, and pay for it too. The 10-course dinner was nothing short of royal indulgence. Canadian lobster, Angus beef that melted like butter, and Chateau Margaux 1982 wine priced at $15,000 per bottle flowing endlessly. A 40-piece funk orchestra rocked the ballroom until dawn, while guests left with miniature gold statues engraved with their names, gifts so heavy and over the top that many were quietly abandoned on tables before morning. The final bill, between $3 and $4 million, much of it spent on flowers, gifts, and custom staging, a true Hollywood moment of indulgence. But behind the glamour, the cracks were already forming. The fairy tale unraveled after 13 years, ending in 2006 amid rumors of infidelity and incompatible lifestyles. Together they raised 5 children and have since maintained a respectful friendship, though their paths diverged long ago. Today, Eddie Murphy lives in Los Angeles, engaged to Paige Butcher and still commanding laughter worldwide. Nicole Mitchell lives quietly in California, far from the spotlight, holding on to the memory of a wedding that once dazzled Hollywood and became the ultimate symbol of love's fleeting luxury. It was a wedding that turned Miami into a shimmering kingdom of gold, a $5 million spectacle that blended Hollywood glamour with NBA royalty. On August 30, 2014, Gabrielle Union, the fearless star of Bring It On and Bad Boys Tug, married Dwayne Wade, the Miami Heat legend, whose name was already etched in basketball history. The celebration unfolded inside a private castle, transformed into a tropical paradise fit for kings. 200 celebrity guests, including LeBron James and Kevin Hart, arrived in gold-plated Rolls-Royces, as if entering another world. 90,000 golden orchids flown in from Brazil blanketed every surface, while a glass-floored tent floated above an artificial lake, glowing under the Miami sunset. The feast was as decadent as the decor: Caribbean lobster, Japanese Wagyu beef, beluga caviar, and 1996 Dom Perignon champagne valued at $15,000 per bottle. Gabrielle Union, radiant in a Dennis Basso gown weighing 8 kilograms and encrusted with 12,000 Swarovski crystals, walked beside Wade, who stunned in a custom de-squared 2 tuxedo. A 30-piece R&B band filled the night with rhythm and romance. Each guest left with a 24-karat gold-plated wine bottle from Wade's personal collection, a final touch to a night of unparalleled splendor. More than a decade later, through rumors, challenges, and redemption, Gabrielle and Union remain unshaken, proving that beneath all the gold, their truest treasure is enduring love. 12. Nick Cannon. It was a wedding that blurred the line between fantasy and reality. Mariah Carey, the global pop diva, and Nick Cannon, the Hollywood multi-talent known for his quick wit and endless energy, sealed their love in one of the most dazzling ceremonies of the 2000s. On April 30, 2008, the world was caught off guard when the pair tied the knot at Mariah's private Windermere Island estate in the Bahamas. After only 6 weeks of dating publicly, they kept the event so secret that even the guests, just 30 of the entertainment world's elite, including Oprah Winfrey, didn't know the details until the last moment. The scene looked like something out of a movie. The beach glittered under the moonlight, transformed with golden sand imported from the Sahara and blanketed by 100,000 white orchids flown in from Hawaii. A private yacht fleet carried guests from Miami to the island, where giant Maine lobster, fine desserts, and 1990 Dom Perignon champagne, valued at $10,000 a bottle, awaited them. Mariah Carey, radiant in a Nile cami gown draped in diamonds, stood beside Nick Cannon, impeccable in a Gucci tuxedo, as the waves lapped at their feet. Each guest departed with an engraved Rolex, a gesture of luxury that perfectly matched the couple's flair for the spectacular. The wedding's $3 million cost, spent largely on sand and flowers, made headlines, but love, not luxury, seemed to define the day. Yet fairy tales can fade. After 8 years, the pair divorced amid lifestyle conflicts and rumors. Today, Nick Cannon juggles fatherhood and fame in Los Angeles, while Mariah Carey reigns supreme in New York, still the diva who once turned a Bahamian beach into a paradise of love and glitter. It was a wedding that shimmered like a dream against the Mediterranean horizon, a Monaco celebration so breathtaking it left the world in awe. On July 31, 2010, Alicia Keys, the soulful R&B legend behind Fallen and countless hits, married Swizz Beatz, the acclaimed producer and creative powerhouse, in one of the most mesmerizing ceremonies Hollywood has ever seen. Set at a luxurious seaside villa in Monte Carlo, the event radiated elegance and emotion. 80 hand-picked guests, including Queen Latifah and Deepak Chopra, arrived by private yachts, greeted by sea breeze and symphonies of soft light. Alicia, glowing and pregnant with their first child, walked across a floating stage blanketed with 50,000 white roses from France, the waves reflecting golden light as dusk fell. The menu was pure indulgence: Mediterranean lobster, prime Wagyu beef, and 1996 Bollinger champagne at $10,000 a bottle. Draped in a Vera Wang gown adorned with pearls, Alicia radiated grace, while Swizz Beatz, dapper in Tom Ford, took to the turntables himself, spinning joy into rhythm. Costing an estimated $3 million, the wedding became a timeless symbol of passion and artistry. 15 years later, they remain one of Hollywood's most grounded and scandal-free power couples, proof that some love stories really do last. 14. Laurence Fishburne. It was a wedding straight out of a Hollywood film, complete with helicopters, glamour, and a level of extravagance that stunned even the most jaded A-listers. On September 20, 2002, Laurence Fishburne, the commanding star of The Matrix and one of cinema's most respected actors, married Gina Torres, the poised and brilliant television actress who had brought warmth and wit into his life after his first marriage ended. The venue was the Cloisters in New York, transformed into a spectacle worthy of a movie set. 200 elite guests, including Keanu Reeves and Samuel L. Jackson, were flown in from Manhattan by helicopter, landing amid the hum of blades and flashing lights. The sky above thundered with energy, setting the tone for a night of cinematic splendor. Inside, A breathtaking vision awaited them. 45,000 purple orchids flown in from Thailand blanketed every inch of the grounds, cascading along pathways and archways that led to a glass-roofed tent overlooking the Hudson River. As the sunlight hit the glass, it scattered into a prism of color, illuminating a scene that could rival any Hollywood premiere. Gina Torres, radiant in a Monique Louis gown adorned with pearls, floated down the aisle to the hum of camera shutters. Her every step shimmered like a movie frame. Laurence Fishburne, regal in a Brioni tuxedo tailored to perfection, watched her approach with the calm authority of a man used to commanding worlds, both real and fictional. Dinner was pure indulgence: Norwegian salmon, Kobe beef with a secret glaze, and endless glasses of 1990 Crystal champagne, each bottle valued at $10,000. A 50-piece orchestra performed a breathtaking rendition of the Matrix soundtrack, immersing guests in a surreal blend of art and love. Each attendee received a gold-plated Mont Blanc pen engraved with the couple's names, elegant, extravagant, and soon, surprisingly, found for sale on auction sites. The total cost, an estimated $2 to $3 million, covered everything from helicopters to flowers. But even the grandest spectacles can't hold back time. After 16 years of marriage, the couple parted ways in 2018, worn down by relentless work schedules and diverging dreams. Today, Fishburne remains in Los Angeles, pouring his soul into filmmaking, while Gina Torres continues to shine on screen, both carrying memories of a wedding that once soared above New York like a Hollywood fantasy, now faded into legend. It was a wedding straight from the pages of a fairy tale, set in a French chateau, wrapped in gold, and destined to end in heartbreak. On July 13, 2013, Halle Berry, the Oscar-winning Hollywood goddess whose beauty and strength had long captivated the world, married Olivier Martinez, the charming French actor whose smoldering charisma seemed to promise a happily ever after. Seeking privacy far from Hollywood's flashing cameras, the couple chose the 13th-century Château de Condé in Valery, France, a place where time itself seemed to pause. At the height of summer, 150 elite guests, including Oprah Winfrey and Taraji P. Henson, arrived by private jets to witness what the press would later call a royal affair. The chateau was transformed into a dreamscape of 50,000 French roses dusted with 24-karat gold, their scent floating through candle-lit corridors. A 7-course feast prepared by a 3-Michelin star chef dazzled guests, paired with vintage Napoleon wines valued at $15,000 a bottle. Halle Berry, glowing and pregnant, glided through the ballroom in an Alicia Keys gown sparkling with 10,000 crystals, her elegance mesmerizing. Olivier Martinez, dashing in a custom Armani tuxedo, stood beside her beneath an arch of golden blooms. Each guest departed with handcrafted wine bottles, 1,000 in total, as keepsakes of the opulent celebration. The price tag, $8 to $9 million, making it one of the most expensive celebrity weddings in Europe, yet behind the perfection, cracks would soon appear. By 2016, love gave way to distance and disputes. Today, Berry lives single in Los Angeles, devoted to her children and work, while Martinez divides his time between France and the US, both holding on to the memory of a love that once glittered like gold beneath the French summer sky. And that wraps up our deep dive into the world of luxury, love, and legendary weddings. We've seen vows sealed under crystal chandeliers, aisles lined with imported roses, and receptions that cost more than most people's lifetime earnings. But beyond the glamour, one question remains: does money really buy happiness? We'd love to hear your take. Were these weddings pure fairy tales, or just over-the-top displays of power? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's start a conversation. If you enjoyed this journey through Hollywood's grandest I-dos, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. because next time, we're going even deeper, revealing the hidden truths, heartbreaks, and behind-the-scenes secrets of the celebrity world. You won't want to miss what's coming next.